Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Measure Campaign Impact with StackAdapt Brand Lift. My name is Amanda Benavides, and I'm part of the marketing team here at StackAdapt. Before we get started, we just have a few housekeeping items to cover, and then we can get the webinar underway. We're happy to field any questions you might have on any of the content, so please feel free to place them in the questions area of the GoToWebinar panel. We'll address all questions at the end of our session during the Q&A. If there are any questions we're not able to address in the allotted time, we'll follow up directly after the webinar. Just a quick note, this webinar is being recorded and will be shared shortly after we end. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to our presenters today to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Amanda, and good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on which time zone you're joining us from. My name is Ambuj, and I'm a director within our solutions consulting team. I work with our clients and internal teams to build verticalized solutions and partnerships.
Hi, I'm Jessica, and I'm the manager of the Programmatic Media Analytics team, where we provide clients with deeper insights into their campaigns.
Hey everyone, Ryan here, and I'm a product manager for the execution team of StackAdapt. I'm responsible for bringing features to the platform that improve all aspects of campaign setup, as well as new offerings such as Brand Lift.
Thanks, Jessica and Ryan. While I'm sure many are already familiar with StackAdapt, we thought it would be helpful to refresh. So StackAdapt is a multi-channel DSP in the programmatic space, offering access to display, native, video, CTV, and most recently audio, which means you can run your ads against your favorite podcast now. The platform enables planning, execution, and reporting features powered by a proprietary AI and intuitive UI. So if you haven't had a chance to try out the platform yet, do reach out and we'll be happy to onboard you. With that, we'll dive into Brand Lift, but before it, wanted to run a poll to gauge how many listeners have previously run a Brand Lift study. This would also allow us to appropriately tailor our presentation today and throw in appropriate context as we go through the multiple slides. You should now be seeing a question on your screen, and I'll leave the question up there for roughly 30 to 45 seconds, so to give everyone an opportunity to respond. So far, we have roughly 60% people who haven't run a Brand Lift study previously, and then around 30% that have run between 1 to 5 Brand Lift studies, and less than 10% who have run more than 10 Brand Lift studies. So I think that's great context to have, and that way we'll ensure that as we go through our presentation, we'll make sure to talk about some specifics that might not be apparent to those who may have not run such studies previously. And so that might be helpful as we consider Brand Lift studies in the future. All right, so here's what we have in store for today. We'll first touch upon what a Brand Lift study is and where does it fit among other solutions. Next, we'll touch upon the benefits of running a Brand Lift study. And more importantly, what does a Brand Lift study bring to the table that might not be previously available? We'll then start peeling the onion a bit and look at what some of the considerations should be when running a Brand Lift study and how such studies are set up. And then finally, we'll touch upon StackAdapt's in-platform Brand Lift solution and the advantages it offers to marketers. So what are Brand Lift studies? Simply put, Brand Lift studies are a measurement solution that help quantify the impact of an advertising campaign against the stated objectives. So let's break this down a bit further. Typically and historically, especially for upper funnel campaigns, the metrics that have been used to measure performance have been limited to impressions and clicks. While those are definitely important, we can see why they alone aren't sufficient. So for example, if you're talking about brand awareness, how do we tie impressions and clicks as metrics back to brand awareness? So it's in this void is where such solutions sort of developed. It is in this context, we also see some other popular lift measurement solutions. So you might have already worked with or heard about solutions such as foot traffic lift and sales lift. And so combined with Brand Lift, they sort of form part of a set of solutions where we try to determine the impact of exposure to an ad campaign. So if we were to imagine foot traffic, what we're trying to achieve or measure is for an audience that was exposed to an ad campaign, what percentage of that audience actually walked into a store. And so we can, in that same analogous manner, imagine Brand Lift to be a measurement of an audience that after being exposed to an ad campaign had a change in user perception of behavior. Why measuring for lift matters? So We briefly discussed why brand lift evolved as a solution, and access to new metrics was a key driver for that. Typically, with lower funnel campaigns, conversions and ROAS, or return on ad spend, are strong enough metrics, but for upper and mid funnel, we didn't have as many quantitative measurement tools at hand. Because brand lift questions are also flexible, they can sort of be tailored towards the objective, which are specifically that we're looking to measure, which allows us and gives us access to new metrics to both measure and then report on. The other reason why brand lifts have actually become popular is that they help uncover insights and inform future campaign strategies. So brand lifts are more than just the final lift percentage. If the lift is spread across different attributes, identifying which subset voted favorably versus which did not can also help shape the strategy for future campaigns. So for example, if we run a brand lift study and there might be a final brand lift percentage, we can still break it down to see what subset of the audience voted favorably against different attributes. So like, for example, did the majority of the people who voted favorably reside in a specific state? Knowing that also helps us identify what resonated and what did not. Not only that, we can also run open-ended surveys. So for example, if you're running a campaign for an e-commerce product, we could run a survey asking what matters most when considering purchasing that product. So some of the options could look like price, shipping times, and so on. And that information can help us tailor our campaign strategy. And in addition, we can retarget these separate segments uniquely. So for example, those who responded with price could be reached with creatives tailored to that messaging, or we could be calling out discounts specifically to the cohort that had price as the main consideration when they responded to the survey. For those reasons, brand lift studies are definitely a powerful tool to have in your toolbox as a marketer. And with that, I'll hand it to Jessica to walk us through some of the considerations as well as the mechanics behind how brand lift studies are run.
Thanks, Imbuj. So yes, definitely talking about brand lift study considerations. So what goes into building a brand lift study? So first of all, audience sources. You will need to consider the way you collect your audiences to use for your surveys. And there are many methods. Some brand lift survey providers use survey panels or lookalikes that resemble your target audience in terms of geo or demo. But at StackAdapt, we can capture users who directly have seen your brand awareness ad for an exposed group, as well as build a control group with the exact same targeting as your brand campaign. Another consideration is how you want to analyze the results. In terms of looking at the results, we do not necessarily need to use the resources to just calculate brand responses to just calculate brand lift. We can use our surveys to collect user opinions to help future decisions, such as help you build future creatives or even target users who have responded with certain options in upcoming campaigns. Next, target funnel matters in determining what questions should be used in your surveys. Brand lift studies are effective for upper funnel metrics such as ad recall or brand recognition, but they are also highly effective for mid to lower funnel results such as consideration or purchase intent. And lastly, for creative options, depending on your question and campaign strategy, the ads can either be unbranded or branded, where branded means that the ad includes the company logo. Also, there are different formats we can use to collect responses from users, depending if you want respondents to have single or multi-selections. Now, expanding on the target funnel, questions for your brand lift study will differ depending on what the key metric the brand is looking to get results on. For more upper funnel brand awareness solutions, measuring brand awareness or ad recall, some sample questions could be, do you recall seeing an ad for brand A in the last 14 days? Which brand do you most associate with? And for mid to lower funnel solutions, measuring consideration, consumer preferences, and purchase intent, some sample questions could be, how would you describe your overall opinion of brand A? Or would you recommend brand A to a friend? And another example could be, how likely are you to purchase this brand? And in terms of creative options, as mentioned before, they can be branded or unbranded survey units. Unbranded creatives means that the brand logo is not included in the ad and the user cannot identify who is sponsoring the ad. For branded creatives, it works similarly as unbranded, but with the company logo. Typically, brand lift studies are unbranded to take away bias, but depending on your strategy and question types, either option can work. And in terms of response formats, there are three main types. The first one being buttons, where it shows all single select options. The results get recorded when the user clicks on one of the options. Buttons are the quickest way to generate responses as it only requires one click or tap. The second creative format will be in a checklist form, where the user can select one or more responses and then press submit. And the third creative style is dropdown, where a user can single select a response option and then press submit for it to be recorded. This is ideal for longer form questions as responses may take up a lot of canvas space on the ad. Overall, all creative options work seamlessly across both desktop and mobile in terms of functionality. And lastly, once you've confirmed you're running a brand lift study, StackAdapt has a brand lift guide and builder site to help you determine goals, question, and design of creatives. Please reach out to your StackAdapt rep to get that started. And now switching over to the brand lift study process. Here's the basic classic brand lift study process that is common industry-wide. First, there are two major groups we are comparing with each other, exposed and control. Exposed users are consumers who have seen the brand campaign ads, while control users have not. But to note for control users, they technically fall into the same targeting as the brand campaign, but they're just being withheld seeing those ads. Survey ads are then sent out to the users in both groups during or after the brand campaign is live, with questions that are determined by the key metric the brand is looking to get results on. After that, we then gather all the responses from those survey ads and then compare results from the two groups to see if there is brand lift from the exposed users. So going more granularly in terms of StackAdapt specific brand lift study setup, here's a high-level process flow on what to include and what to exclude in order to properly run these campaigns. First, we have our awareness campaigns at the top, which need to be run before or during the survey campaigns are live, or else you won't be able to capture users to put in your exposed groups. Now, looking at the exposed campaigns on the left, we want to include users who did see those awareness ads. For exclusions, we do want to exclude two groups: users who saw the control ad and users who have responded to the ad already, just to make sure that the study is as clean as possible. For the control campaign on the right, we just want to include the exact same targeting segments as the awareness campaigns, as these users are technically eligible to see your ads but just didn't see them. Which does mean for exclusions, we need to exclude users from the exposed group, and we do still want to exclude users who have responded. And now I'll pass it off to Ryan to talk more in depth about benefits of running brand lift with StackAdapt.
Thanks, Jess. Like she mentioned, I'll be going over the StackAdapt brand lift, and I'll start with some of the key benefits. With more traditional brand lift providers, they run independently from your campaigns and are typically on a different platform. With StackAdapt's brand lift solution, you get in-platform reporting. What this means is that, one, you won't have the need to upload campaign or impression data to the brand lift provider, removing a lot of the headache of setting up the brand lift study. And two, with brand lifts being in the same platform as your campaigns, you can easily switch back and forth between campaign reporting and brand lift results. Another benefit with StackAdapt's brand lift solution is that you get the reporting in real time. You'll see not only the StackAdapt campaign data in real time, but also the responses of your surveys in real time. And lastly, with StackAdapt's brand lift, you get a lot of flexibility over the actual surveys. With more traditional providers, they usually have select questions for you to choose from. While StackAdapt has recommended questions as well, we also allow you to write any question you'd like. Additionally, as Jess showed earlier, there's also flexibility in terms of branded or unbranded survey units. Now I'll be diving a little deeper into what StackAdapt's brand lift actually reports on. As of now, we report on two aspects of the brand lift. The first is the actual metrics of the brand lift itself. This includes the spend on the brand lift, the impressions served for the brand lift, and also the number of responses or votes. The second is the metrics for each question in the brand lift. This includes the number of votes for each answer, separated out by your controlled and exposed groups. the percentage of votes each answer has received, again separated out by your controlled and exposed groups. And lastly, we calculate the lift each answer has received. Overall, StackAdapt's brand lift is easier to set up than your traditional providers, more convenient to access, and results are seen much quicker. So just to wrap up, here are some takeaways from the presentation that we hope you'll remember. Brand lifts are a useful tool as part of your lower, mid, and upper funnel solutions. It can help gauge the perception of your brand and also likeliness of purchase and help inform your future campaign strategies. With StackAdapt Brand Lift, you can leverage different creative options, whether that be unbranded versus branded or different survey formats. And lastly, StackAdapt's Brand Lift allows you to run everything within the same platform. That's all for our presentation today. Thank you for listening, and feel free to reach out to your account rep if you're interested in running a brand lift study with us.
Thank you so much, Ambuj, Jessica, and Ryan, for your wonderful presentation. So we'd now like to jump into the Q&A portion of the webinar. As a quick reminder, if you have any questions, please place them in the questions box. And looks like we have some questions coming in through now. And so let's tackle this first one. Are your brand lift studies available for verticals like healthcare, or is it limited to certain industries?
I can take that one. So we do have brand lift studies available for all industries and verticals, especially if we are just measuring brand awareness or ad recall. However, if we do want to run open-ended survey questions, then for those sensitive verticals, we'll definitely have to get a QA check from the platform quality team to make sure we are brand safe and we're not asking any questions that might be PII applicable.
Perfect. Next question. Are brand lift studies in StackAdapt self-serve, or do I need a rep in order to launch a campaign?
So currently, they are not self-serve. You will need a rep, but we are looking at improving that in the future and allowing that to be self-serve.
Great, thank you. Next question here. Are there any campaign minimums for running brand lift surveys?
So there will be campaign minimums, and the reason for that is for us to be able to serve enough impressions so that we have enough audience pools to then target them with survey ads to gather responses. The campaign minimums would differ depending on the channel that the awareness campaign is running on. And so we'll probably have to do a feasibility check on a campaign by campaign basis.
Great. And last question we have on deck. Can brand lift studies be run on mobile devices?
Yes, so our creatives work both on display and mobile equally.
Perfect. And I think those are all the questions we have today, but if you have any other questions regarding our presentation today or StackAdapt Brand Lift, feel free to reach out to us directly. Thank you all for attending today. We hope you found it both informative and insightful. We'll be sending out a follow-up email with a recording to all registrants. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any other questions you may have. Thanks again for joining us, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.